what we're going to be doing next would be to add a domain. So if we go to settings, domains, we would find that we only have this fallback domain. So like I said, we're going to be finding out things from time to time. That way I don't just bombard you with every single term. So this is a fallback domain, and your fallback domain usually is a domain that is provided to you by Microsoft. So when you create a new tenant or you register for a Microsoft 365 account, you usually get a domain associated with that account. So this domain holds your licenses, and there are a lot of things this domain does. Just in case you have a custom domain and something happens to that custom domain, because you have a fallback domain, those emails actually would go back to those users that they are supposed to go back to. Let me show you something. Come to users, active users. Let's pick one user that has a license. So we worked with Adel Vance. I would like us to move to someone else. Let's go to Chris Green. There are two ways of going to the Exchange side. One way is coming to Mail and then edit Exchange properties from here. I'm just going to click this. Another way to get to this point is to come down to the navbar over here and Exchange. Click on Exchange and it brings you to the home page of your Microsoft 365 Exchange Admin Center. So here we go, and the user we clicked was Chris Green. Over here, because we specifically clicked on Chris Green to get to this point, it gave us his profile. So I'll just stick with this. So what I need to show you is his email address types. I'm just going to click this, and he has an SMTP address, which is the primary mailbox of this, and he also has an SIP. SIP stands for Session Initiation Protocol. You can read about this, but what it does is to help people around the world to be able to communicate with each other. So it's a protocol. I just wanted to show you the SMTP. This is the primary mailbox and the SIP as well, but we are just going to focus on this for now and take note of these records, because when we add a new domain, we might have a new primary mailbox, and I need you to check out what happens to this domain name. All right, so I'll just close this, come back here and close, and we are going to be adding a new domain. To do that, go to settings, domains, and here you would see a list of all of your domains. We can change this address if we want, and then we can add a new one. So we're just going to do those two. I'm going to be adding a new domain. To add a new domain, you first of all need to own a domain. You need to purchase a domain from a domain registrar. So you can do that without coming to Microsoft. If you would like to just purchase one from Microsoft, you can click here, buy domain. But because I already have a domain, I'll just click on add domain. So you're going to be typing in the domain name you want to add. I have a domain name, ipitm.com. So this is a domain name I own, and I'm going to be using this domain. So click use this domain. So it comes up with this and asks you to add a TXT record to the DNS records. We are not studying anything that has to do with domain here, but I'll just say this, that a DNS record is a domain name system record, and TXT is a type of DNS record that you can use to maybe embed or attach text to a domain name. So I'll be using this method to add the domain name. You can use any one of these, but this lesson isn't for DNS or domains. But all I can say is, if you would use this, please go ahead. If you understand this better, please do. If you're using a third-party service like GoDaddy, who happens to be a Microsoft partner, you're going to see a button here that says verify. So when you click verify, it pops up a new window asking you to sign into your GoDaddy account, and when you do that, it verifies that domain for you. But I'm doing this the hard way, so to speak, because I need us to understand how these records have been added. So I'll just click continue. So domain verification is just a process that informs Microsoft tenants that you actually own the domain you say you own. And you can watch this video to learn how to do that, but what's contained in this video most likely is what I'm doing here. I have my domain registrar page open, and I have TXT record selected. So if it was an MX record, you will click this. If it were to be a TXT record, which is one of the records you're adding now, I'll click this. So there is Alt tab, which is the shortcut key to go to the previous window. You can hover over here and click this button to copy. You can do the same to this to copy and to copy. I really don't need every one of these information. All I need to copy is this, because you can type this in and also type this in, but I just copied those, and it's a txt record. How you know is here, and it says the txt name. Come over here and add the name, which is @symbol. Not every domain registrar accepts this. Some would just prefer you left it blank. We're going to know if this accepts it or not. And the txt data, that is this, the value. Copy and paste. All right, and this is somewhere around 4 hours, but what is specified here is 3600, which should be somewhere around 1 hour. So I'm just going to change this to 3600, and I think we're good to go. You can hit confirm. So while that is confirming, I'll just come back here to hit verify, but of course you should let this finish confirming, and then I'll come here to hit verify. This could take some time. On some sites they will write it clearly that it could take up to 72 hours. I hope that's not the case with this. Okay, so let it continue. Seems that verified successfully. So this is a service, Exchange and Exchange Online Protection. So EOP is a service that protects you from threats. It's like a security feature for your Microsoft 365. And for you to use this service, you need to add these records: an MX record, a CNAME record, and a TXT record. So all of these records are what will let you use this service successfully. If you don't want this service, you can just uncheck. Well, of course, you would definitely need this, because especially if your emails are routed through Microsoft, you will definitely need this. So there are cases when people don't need this because they probably just purchase the license to use the applications and not emails, or they don't need any form of protection from Microsoft. At that point, you can choose to skip this. The first one is an MX record. Click here to reveal. I'll just copy this because we can guess what's in here. Let's go back to our domain registrar and add. It was an MX record. So the name here the name says @symbol. Here we still have 1 hour, which is 36, and priority says 0, and the value here is what I copied. So I'll just save this. Okay, so I'll prepare to add another one. I'm done with this. So CNAME record, auto discover 1 hour, CNAME, auto discover 1 hour, and paste this value as well. Save. All right, add a new record, and that'll be the last but not the least. Copy. We txt. So here it still says the @symbol and then 1 hour. So @symbol, that's 600. Paste the value and hit save. All right, come back here and hit continue. Now we have an error message, and it says we didn't detect that you added a new record to the domain name. Make sure the record you created at your host exactly matches the record shown here. So let's go down. There seems to be an error here, and it says we gave 14400 and we were supposed to give this record. So let's see, that is for the MX record. I'll go back to the MX. Okay, so I see here that I have multiple MX records, and that shouldn't be. So the reason we can't have 2 MX records at the same time is because your email can only be sent to one direction at a time. It needs to be sent to a place where you're pointed to, and this right now is where our tenant is pointed towards. So let me explain why we have 2 MX records here. We already know that we added this, And we also know that this already existed even before we added this. So here's the thing. When you subscribe to a hosting account or you purchase a hosting plan, it usually comes with email hosting. And in order for that email to know where they should go to, you need an MX record. So this MX record points directly to your domain name, and your domain name is hosted on top of the hosting account you had purchased, which means all of your emails will be sent down to the hosting account that houses your domain name. So in order for us to change the location of those emails, we need to provide a new MX record, and this MX record is coming directly from the email service provider we choose to use. And the service provider we are using now is Microsoft Exchange, and that is why we had to add this record. And that is also the reason why we need to remove this record, because we will not be using the native, the one that was provided to us by our hosting account or our hosting provider. We would be using the one we paid for on Microsoft.com, which is part of the Microsoft 365 service. So that is why we need to delete one of these. So I'm going to be deleting this record. Be very careful where you delete, but I'll be deleting this record now. Delete. And then I'll try again. Alright, right now we don't have any error messages. If you open this up, no error messages. Okay, so your domain setup is complete. So this is a review. So right now we have a domain, this domain that is healthy, and also the fallback domain that is also healthy. So we have a custom domain, and I need us to also create a new domain, just one like this. Okay, so to change this or to add a different one than this one, what you do is go in there and add on Microsoft.com domain. Add this, and over here you can now choose. You can call this okay. So this is an organization that would be moving over their emails shortly, and I could just use this for now because I have their permission to use that. Alright, so there's a warning here. You should also take note of most of these warnings. So this is the new on Microsoft.com domain I'll be adding. So let's add this domain. So what we did was to click add, and what it's doing now is to check if this domain is available. And yes, it's available. That's how we got it. Hit close and then come to domains. This is now the new on Microsoft domain we have. But as I had earlier said, you can't remove this, you can only add. So I'll click over here, make this my fallback domain. You can make this your fallback domain. So what I'm waiting for is this message. Please wait while we change your fallback domain from this to this. Now we have a success message here that says your fallback domain was changed to the forregalia.onmicrosoft.com. So let's come back here. You may not notice any change from here, but yes, we've done a whole lot of things. If you click here, you don't find where it says delete. Click at it. You still don't find where it says delete. Click here. It gives you the option to remove. So you can remove this, like I said, but you can remove any one of the on Microsoft domain names. At this point, we can switch users from using this domain, which you can't really pronounce, you just need to call these letters, to something you can actually pronounce. And you can give all of your users this domain name, and it becomes the domain they use for their email. So remember, an email has two major sections, which is the username and then the domain name. So these will now be the domain name. Let me show you a classic example. Active users, and let's work with Green. Chris Green. Okay, so we have alternate email addresses, and then we have this section as well, aliases. So I need you to watch what happens when I remove this domain from this user. To understand more about aliases, please see the last two videos, and you should have a clearer picture of what aliases are and how we can use them. So I'll just go back, come over to this point. So to modify this, click on the pencil icon. Let me go back there so we see manage username and email. So I'll click on this. I don't have any aliases. Come over here. I'm not changing the username. Now, an email address has majorly two sections, the username and the domain. So I can just switch this domain to this and hit done. Now see what happens. The domain that was here was pushed down here as an alias, and then this new domain has taken effect. I had given you this in the previous video, and I'll just give you a recap. If your user gave everyone this email address and now it is an alias, it doesn't mean you're going to lose your emails at this point. What it means is all the emails sent to this alias will be sent down here. Please see the last two videos and you're going to get a clearer picture of this. So right now, Chris, okay, sorry, we need to save all changes before we proceed. Right now, Chris has an alias of what his email address used to be. And then Chris now also has a new email address. So let's see what happened to the exchange information. Edit exchange properties. And let's come over here to where it says manage email addresses. So the primary email address is Chris at the new domain name, while there is a different SMTP address that is what his email used to be. So it was not just deleted, it was just moved downwards. Okay, we're going to understand why we have one in capital and another one in lower cases, but that will be when we start talking about the Exchange Admin Center. I just wanted to give you a background as to what happens to email addresses and user domain names when you change any of those records. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.